Hello everyone, Edain here, and welcome back to the Edain mod, where today we are doing the faction guide for Mordor. It is what was requested the most in the most recent poll. I waited until we had 100 votes in total, or after 100 votes, because there are probably some people still voting on it. But yeah, Mordor took the majority, and how I'm going to mix this up, I'm going to make it so every time we hit 100 votes on the poll, then on that day, I'll make the video. At least that's the plan. So if you want to see these videos more often, get those votes in, is all I'm going to say. And the way it's going to work with that poll is, obviously Mordor's getting taken out, but the least requested, which was Erebor, is also going to be taken out. Rohan and Angmar will stay, and then two other factions will take their place, and we'll just keep rotating that way. I'm not just adding one in and the vote changing very little. But anyway, let's get into the video with Mordor. Probably the most expansive faction in the game. I can't even show their entire roster on the screen at once. I have to just constantly go back and forth, as you can see here. They are probably the largest faction in the game. Probably one of the most loved faction in the game. And as I said in the last video, got a much more streamlined set of things we're going to be going over. Their core mechanics, their strengths and weaknesses, how I prefer to play them, and how best to beat them when the AI is using them. Which, if anyone's watched my more recent videos, I beat Mordor twice. Both times by just sitting, bunkering down until I was strong enough to fight them. But we'll get into that at the very end. So to begin with the core mechanics, it's all about Sauron. Which you can't see much of Sauron right now because he's in his shadow form. I'll put him into his flames form so it's a bit more easy to see. But yeah, everything that Sauron is what makes this Mordor faction so much fun and so unique compared to every other iteration of this faction. Even the buildings look more refined compared to what you saw seeing, for example, BFME 1 to Vanilla. Even some mods like Age of the Ring, I don't think has Mordor in this high esteem, in my opinion. But obviously I could be wrong. And the way Sauron levels up to at least level 10 is by completing these expansion of powers. I've managed to complete all of them before starting this video. But you only need to complete 9 of them in total out of the 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. So you don't have to do 4 of these, but obviously doing as many of them as possible, as quickly as possible, is the quickest way to make Sauron stronger. And the next main mechanic is the fact that Sauron at level 3 unlocks the ability to just target any building except for, I think, these towers. Yeah, every building except for these towers and the Citadel to offer a different effect. For the barracks, you get fire arrows. The troll cage, you get troll armor. Siege works, you get the troll catapult. Targeting any one of your 4 resource buildings, either in the settlement or the either in your base or the settlements, will increase the levels permanently from the settlements or the levels. Obviously, you need to have 1 of each to do that, but it's also not hard to do. With your other settlement, the Kirithungol Barracks, you get access to the Black Orc Archers. On Minas Morgul, you are able to summon wraiths from turn wraiths into single entities that heal Nazgul on their deaths. On Dol Guldur, you get Merkle spiders for free, but Merkle spiders. And am I missing any buildings? Oh yeah, on this battle tower, all your towers shoot an extra arrow, which is ugh. I think that's everything. Oh yes, the defensive banner. The defensive banner here, if you target that, you can give upgrades to your summons through the powers. And yeah, all of that in total, everything is linked to Sauron. Also, all of the Nazgul and the Mouth of Sauron, their levels are linked to Sauron. So if Sauron's level 10 and you just recruit a Nazgul or the Mouth of Sauron, they will come out as technically level 10, but as you can see here, they don't actually have any level under them, and they're all classed as being 0, because that is how Sauron works, because they are all slaves of his will. Next up are the strengths and weaknesses for Mordor. I was really struggling to remember then. The biggest strength is the fact that the Moranon Orcs, the Dol Guldur Orcs, and the Minas Morgul Orcs, the basic orcs are all free. They cost nothing. You can spam and spam and spam as long as you have command points. As you can see, I managed to cheat some of them out thanks to the cheat mode here. I know some people always wonder who this is, or if anyone's good before they ask. This is the guy that allows me to do all the things I need to do to set these videos up. They also have, as I've already talked about, the largest roster, and most of these units are impactful in their own way, have different abilities similar to the units of Gondor, as we talked about the other day. And obviously, the fact that everything is linked to Sauron means that if you focus on what you need to do with Sauron, it's better for you and the entire faction. Just by putting more effort into getting Sauron leveled up. The only heroes you have that don't level up by Sauron's will is Gorbag, Gothmog, and Moloch. You know, the heroes that aren't your Nazgul or the Mouth of Sauron. And obviously this massive expansive roster also means when you're playing Mordor, you can easily catch someone on their toes if they're using like chop damage of the Pinithgelin variety. You can instead make Moranon Orcs from a Minas Morgul, not Moranon Orcs, Minas Morgul Orcs, who come with heavy armor. So the chop damage bonus is negated entirely. And they do normal damage like everyone else. So that bonus is lost. We can also go for poison damage with Dol Guldur. You know, if poison AoE is that your thing, not really my thing. Trolls, other than the Misty Mountains, there's not really an access to powerful monsters. But the Trolls of Mordor are definitely some of the strongest monsters when you get them fully leveled up. Now on to the weaknesses, because Mordor does have one big weakness. All of their units are chaff. They are just meant to be large entity numbers, but very, very weak. So AoE attacks of any variety are an instant boon to your faction if you can use them against Mordor. For example, Gandalf and his entire arsenal, Galadriel, Saruman, Glorfindel, Powers can do really good work. Army of the Dead is exceptionally good against the armies of Mordor. And only their very best will stand a chance against them, but because of how expensive they are, you're not going to be getting them very often, especially not in the early game. And also, this means that, obviously, because your units are so cheap and weak, you need to be getting these pantry upgrades, and if you fall behind on getting these command points, you'll find your army will lack in more than one way. Obviously, command point-wise is a big one, but obviously you're not going to be power creeping from getting upgrades because your units don't actually get any upgrades either. You can't give them forged blades or heavy armor. The only units that can get fire arrows are your Orc archers and the Minas Morgul archers. Dol Guldur units don't have fire arrows, they have poison arrows instead. And even your elites, which are really good, but they don't exactly get any better than what they are. Your early game is very strong. Your mid-game is very strong. Your late game can start to fall behind, especially if you do suffer a massive defeat against like an Army of the Dead. If your entire army is just obliterated because you can't escape, because your units are also very slow, they're slow as dwarves for the most part, you are going to struggle to come back because without powers like, well, unless you have powers like Call the Horde, your units aren't going to be recruited very quickly, even with defensive banners. The speed of which they come back is not like the fastest in the game. Technically, enlargers can get as fast replenishment in units, but their units are far more valuable per unit than Mordor. So losing one unit, not a problem. Losing all your units, that's a problem. But you do come back if you have like several recruitment points. I normally always have 2 barrackses. I don't bother with the siege works because why would I ever have a siege works? And the troll cage is optional. I personally don't really use trolls a lot because I just like to spam orcs. But you know, if you want to go for a photo finish, the trolls with siege hammers is a way to go around that. That's with the strengths and weaknesses. And now it comes to how I play Mordor. I've kind of talked a bit about how I prefer to play Mordor, but this is me going to be cementing it in one big chunk. So, first thing you do is level Sauron to level 3 to get the Influence of Sauron as soon as possible. Your most important upgrades are the tribute camps and arsenals, the slave farms and slaughterhouses. If you have more of one or the other, get the upgrade immediately. Target an arsenal, for example, first, so you can get rid of that and get more tribute camps, or the other way around, depending on which one you prefer. If you prefer the spell book cooldowns, which I normally do, then use the arsenal first and get rid of that. But if you prefer going for unit upgrades and siege engines, build all arsenals instead. But, you know, to each their own. But yeah, I definitely prefer the tribute camps. But if you have more settlements, for example, if you've managed to claim more of the map, go for your settlement upgrades first, because that will defend them more, and at level 3, they will be able to defend themselves, which is important for a faction that is, again, quite slow, with very little cavalry, except for a bunch of heroes, or an elite unit from Minas Morgul. And once you do get Sauron leveled up, as quickly as possible, start investing all your resources into getting the expanded storerooms. As I've already said, it's very important you stay ahead in numbers. So not only do you want to just be constantly spamming troops by having, if you press shift and click, that's 5 units lined up all in one. Obviously, you can only line up 20 at a time, because that's just how the game was programmed back in the early BFMU 1 and 2. I don't think there's any way of changing that. But yeah, 2,500 resources need to be saved up as soon as possible to get those storeroom upgrades. And the 4 most important upgrades, the 4 easiest levels up for Sauron in the early game, that you should always prioritize to get that level 3 as soon as possible, is getting 15 Orc Hordes, which you can start by getting more storerooms. Getting a Nazgul, 1 Nazgul, 1,400 resources to get either the Dark Marshal or the Shadow Lord, to get another level up. An outpost for economy, not either of these outposts, I mean just a regular outpost, not any of these other 2s because they're too expensive. Just get a regular outpost and build up 3 resource buildings on them. Because that way you can also use the influence on them, because they are the slave farms and slaughterhouses here, you can see. Just build 1, 2, 3, use the influence, all these buildings will now be level 2, generating more resources, more value. It is worth it, because now look at these coming out at level 2. And then the last one you can get very early, if you go for it very early, is the Kirithungol units. The barracks itself isn't that expensive, and the units are a bit expensive, but compare it to like Enlarged units, and it's just what I 1 unit. But they are all good. The Kirithungol Halberdiers you can get quite early with heavy armor. So again, in fact, I don't actually know if they have heavy armor. They just do slash and specialist damage at the same time. So they're good against cavalry if you're fighting against a faction that does make cavalry often, like Rohan or Imladris. The Black Orcs are better if you need just heavy armor damage, which doesn't happen often, but they also just do very high single target damage, so it is very good. And then those are just the first 4 I would recommend aiming for first. After that, you should get Gothmog or Moloch to level 5. That will give Sauron another level. That will be the 5th. That puts him to level 6. You can then save up your Overseers just by having them sit in the back of your base. I actually showed that off in my last Mordor video. I had all the Overseers just sitting in the back. Just wait till 3 have been used. Obviously not as fast as this is because I've got this guy again. As to why I'm getting them back so quickly. And yeah, once you have 6 of them, you can put them onto your units, as you can see I've done here, to give them bonus damage and armor. But it's honestly better to keep them back in the early game, because again, your units are guaranteed to die. It's gonna happen. You can't save your orcs. Don't let them die, but don't let them not die. Don't try and protect them. Don't be afraid to lose them. Your heroes you should always protect. And with that, you have gotten a total of 6 level ups. You only need 3 more. And the 3 that I would normally go for, which are quite easy to do, is get a level 5 Orc Horde, which if you don't use your Overseers is actually quite easy. Just keep spamming Orcs. When you have hit command point limit, get one of them and use this Bloodthirsty ability to just devour one Orc Horde. And let's have a look at the level up this will give me if I just eat this one Orc Horde unit with this. It's giving me no level up. Why? Okay, no. There we go. It just takes a little bit of time. But yeah, all you need to do is eat like 3-4 Orc Hordes, and you can get an Orc Horde unit to level 5 quite easily. And that's just another level for free. You can also just get it from keeping Orc Hordes alive if you have things like Banners of the Red Eye, to just give all your units regen and level 2. So that's already a small increase. It's also what I prefer to go down because it gives you one of your main 2 powers, which is another way of getting Sauron leveled up very, very quickly, is just by getting that just going straight for that tier 4 power. It's so worth it. And that will take you up to only needing 1 level up left, which, if I'm not mistaken, it could be getting a heroic unit from your either one of your 2 outposts, the Castellans of Dol Guldur or the Knights of Minas Morgul. You can get all 9 Nazgul if you're actually lucky enough to get all of them, which requires you to build the Black Riders and the 2 Nazgul from your base, Khamul from the Dol Guldur and the Witch King from Minas Morgul. It's definitely the hardest one to do, but it's definitely is a thing you can do. Get fire arrows or troll armor for your trolls. Again, just upgrade, just influence on one of these 2. That's a free level up if you can get those into one position. Tier 3 Siege Works is probably the one, and again, a very easy one to do if you actually like building siege. I don't, so we don't ever talk about that one. And then lastly, just control 4 trolls. Moloch is included in that 4, so you don't need to get 3 more trolls if you get Moloch. But yeah, all these different ways of leveling up Sauron. The sooner you get him leveled up and you get the power of past ages, the better he becomes. Because he turns from being just a mere shadow that has some ways of just being able to do decent control work into a killing machine who can also spawn his own citadel, which has its own set of upgrades. It's very similar to the Border Stronghold of Gondor, in fact, with the upgrades it can get. Which, so yeah, it's technically just a free outpost wherever you want for a level 10 Sauron. And it gives you vampire bats. You can summon werewolves, which get cheaper if you have a bunch of slaughterhouses, and then you get just reduce the cost of heroes. You should already have all your heroes. Protect the building, and then protect the building even more. And then you can also turn between all these other forms. But I've already talked about all of that in other videos. If you want to see all those different forms of Sauron, then I recommend you watch all those videos. I have so many of them showing off all the forms of Sauron. And yeah, but as you get more and more into the late game, if you ever get that far into the late game, you could go for a Great Siege Works and get Grond if you have enough power points. You can also, if you get a tier 3 Fortress of Minas Morgul or Dol Guldur, you can make a barracks affiliated with that outpost, so you can then just recruit those orcs from there as well. Also saves you from having to lose this outpost and start again. You just have those units permanently. However, I will note, you do not get to just keep swapping between the 2. You need 2 different orc pits. Once you choose one affiliation, it cannot be changed to another one. You have to either demolish it or get another one, which is why, again, I always prefer to make 2. Although I would never get Dol Guldur as well as Minas Morgul in most games, because most games by then, that point, is already a victory. And yeah, just be aware of who you are playing against when deciding what you go with, because some factions have counters more apparent than others. Like, very heavy pikemen of Imladris is definitely not recommended to make trolls against them. It's better to just go full infantry, because that's how you win. Against a faction like the Misty Mountains, you will probably want some more monsters because their infantry is garbage, but their monsters are pretty strong. You want to go some pikemen as well. And again, cavalry armies, you want to have pikemen as well. Archers are always a good idea. Always get archers. Doesn't matter which ones you get. Just don't get Dol Guldur ones. And the main thing about playing as Mordor, have fun. I say it from time to time, but I just want to remind you all, when you're playing as this faction, and any faction, just have fun. Mordor is one of those factions you really can just fuck around and find out with, because they really have very few downsides. However, on that note, I'm going to talk about how best to beat Mordor. Because honestly, in most games against Mordor, you are just going to be bunkering down and defending for a lot of the early game. You will feel stuck just constantly defending against their constant waves of attackers, whether it be orcs, trolls, Nazgul, all of it. They bring all of it, and they bring it out very quickly as well. The fact that orcs are free make it so they're not afraid to actually build everything else and get very destructive. They'll always build trolls, they'll always build orcs. On castle maps, they'll also use siege, and they will also use Grond, because they'll have that great siege works on the map, because if you don't know the way to get Grond, you have to target a siege works, and then Grond will sooner or later appear. You'll even hear when Grond is appearing. When Grond appears, throw pikemen at him. Throw pikemen, throw cavalry. That is the best way of dealing damage to him. The trample damage is efficient, and the cavalry can chase up to him so that they are able to just constantly deal damage. But don't run into Grond. Run Grond from behind. He's very susceptible to being attacked from behind. Just do note, though, that these archers are annoying as hell. But also, Grond himself is just a monster to behold. Keep pikes for the entirety of the game. Nazgul do come in on their horses, so you can easily kill them, but don't always expect them to be on horseback. They can come on foot as well. Trolls are again always going to happen. They're always going to be on the field, although Murloc hardly ever appears. But just keep in mind, trolls will eventually get these upgrades. They'll be able to do massive damage to buildings, to units, to heroes. Kill them off as quickly as possible. If you see a drummer troll, you will probably see your units start running away in fear. Be aware of that. And if your units are high enough level or have certain leaderships, you will be better off against a drummer troll. If not, like against in my dwarf video, you will see your units running away constantly. Don't leave your heroes unattended. They can die to some fast shock units like, again, trolls. And as I said before, the biggest weakness of Mordor is the fact their units are trashy, but high-level experienced units will overkill them a lot. So have a lot of, not trashy units, but lower-level units that don't overkill the enemy as much. You'll find they do way better and have AoE attacks. So many AoE attacks as possible. Use, again, Gandalf, Galadriel, Saruman, or even Gandalf summon for the dwarves. Dragons for Misty Mountains are really good against them. Just every kind of AoE attack, bring it out against Mordor, because that is where it's going to come out most efficient. Misty Mountains, you could say it can, but they make a lot more monsters and a lot more, a lot less spammy units. At least the AI don't. Mordor will always have armies of orcs waiting to die. Oh, shush, Gollum. I'm not going to run around for him. I'm just going to give Sauron the One Ring right now. Just to say I could. Because who doesn't want to see a Ring Hero Sauron at the very end of the video? And yeah, if you can level up your heroes early on, from killing off all these orcs, from killing off all the heroes they keep making out, because again, I believe Mordor is the strongest AI faction in the game. They are terrifying, doesn't matter what map, what start, they will always be on your ass from the start of the game to the end. Give them no ground, give as little of them as possible. If you can, fight in on a narrow map with causeways, like bridges, lock them down on those bridges, try and protect as much land as possible. If you're always just bunkering down in your base at the later stages of the game, you're not going to lose very often, but you're not going to win either. And as you can see in my latest skirmish videos, if anyone wants to watch them, I was playing Angmar on Path to the Dead, so 2 narrow causeways. I constantly locked them into fighting over the outpost after I took those outposts back from them. And then there's also the Keldwyn River video, which was... I got so angry at the end there. Jesus Christ, I hated that game by the end. But yeah, eventually you can just overpower Mordor if you get high enough level, high enough power, because eventually they do kind of taper off. their best strength is their heroes, and if you constantly knock that away from them, they can fall behind. They have to constantly have this variety, because otherwise you can just focus on one thing and then beat them with it. Which is why I said Mordor is the most variety-filled faction, because they need it. They need that variety to have a strength against an enemy that can have just any one strength against them. If you make all trolls, they'll just make all pikemen, and then what are you going to do? Stop them? You can't. All pikemen and archers are perfect counters to trolls. All siege, you're never going to see that happen. All just orcs and AoE attacks are going to obliterate you. You have to always have this constant variety. It's not like Mordor, where you just have an army of elite men that start off basic and then become more powerful with all upgrades. You don't have that, as I've already said. So yeah, against the Mordor, prepare for a rough ride, but you might enjoy it by the end of it. And that is all for today's video. Again, I'll be bringing out a poll later today, and I'll be waiting until I get 100 votes on that poll before I make the new video. Or if it comes out, if it happens like next day, I'll give it like a day or two just to map everything out. Yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Farewell, and I hope you learned something.